Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of the Waypoint Podcast. I'm here with two other co-hosts from Waypoint. Got Austin.
That's me. Hello.
And Jordan.
What's up, everybody?
And we have a few people here from Dualshockers that can tell us about what the heck is going on over there. First, you guys want to introduce yourselves? We can start top right. We got Cam.
Yeah, my name's Cameron Hawkins. Outside of Dualshockers, I'm a current host on IGN's podcast Unlocked, and I was a writer over at Dualshockers.
And then we've got Otto.
Hi there. My name's Otto Kratky. I'm the former executive editor at Dualshockers. Currently a staff writer at PC Invasion, Sprites and Dice, and that is all.
We also have Kris joining us.
Hey everyone, I'm Kris, review features writer for Dualshockers previously, currently free agent, just independent at the moment, looking for where to go next.
And hire all these guys. And finally, we have Scott.
What's up, everybody? Pew, 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 pew. I am Scott White. I am Professor RPG over at the RPG University podcast. I also write and produce stuff at Irrational Passions, but I used to be a video producer, graphic designer, and writer over at Dualshock.
All right.
And the
I
life
was
of the
so
pod.
cool. I blew Cam away. He had to leave. He had to get up and compose himself.
Who needs him? I'm managing a puppy right now, so
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You can admit it. I'm
We're all
flattered.
friends here. It's okay.
I'm
Exactly.
flattered.
Like we said
So
many
making
times.
up this puppy. I haven't even seen him. Like, we haven't seen the puppy.
It's true. It's a good point. See what you did.
He just nods.
See what
Like-
Cam's
did.
just gonna go rob someone of a puppy just to bring it, so he has. I swear, I have a puppy.
I want it to be like a
You hear like a
13-year-old
little
dog.
neighborhood girl crying in the background.
Mommy, she's stealing my dog.
Aww.
Oh, we got
Yeah, we got
Aw.
Look at it. Oh,
His face.
adorable.
I quite prove it.
there's
done
your
did it.
proof.
He done did it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Absolute mad lad.
So, there's been a lot of crazy things happening. I don't know 100% the story. I just remember seeing a while back that Dualshockers is now under new management.
Mhm.
And then a few days ago, as of recording, I saw a lot of people leaving Dualshockers. So I don't know if one of you kind of wants to fill everybody in on the situation. That would probably help us out a lot.
Should we rock paper
Well-
scissors for it?
I just think we should just like clear the air for the audience. You know,
Mhm.
what we already said to you guys
Mhm.
as well. It's like we're not here to like talk shit. We're here to basically
Yeah.
like talking about our own experiences, handling with the transition and the new management and things like that. Like there's still plenty of people from the staff that did get hired. Like they are now like hired by
Mhm.
GRV as full-time positions, and they are great people doing, you know, what GRV is trying to do at Dualshockers is something that vibes with them, and that's awesome. You know, they're doing what they want to do. But for us, obviously, things were different. So I just want to state that first and foremost before
Yeah.
we get into the weeds of anything.
Yeah,
It's very important.
absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
I think among all of us, I likely learned about the acquisition first. I learned about it. I think we revealed it to the staff on Sunday, and I say we, I mean the old owners, Joel, Yaris, and Al. On Sunday, what? Right before. I forget which Sunday it was now. Maybe
3 Sundays ago, I think.
So the 23rd, January 23rd.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I learned about
24th,
it,
yeah.
or no, 24th.
Tw-
I learned about
24th.
it about 2 days before that in a quick meeting with the rest of the editorial board, and let me just say from the get go, I was excited.
Same.
I was very excited. I think that translated over to everybody. Yeah. We
Largely
were-
positive vibes all around.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, the old owners were very much laissez-faire, kind of didn't, even like from my position as an editor, maybe they talked more with the editor in chief or with the general manager of the site, but I didn't really hear from the owners of Dualshockers prior to its acquisition from GRV, and then um, I just knew that we were getting picked up, and like I said from the get go, it was exciting because it meant more money coming into the company, proper funding. We could hire more staff writers, pay staff writers better. We'd be able to hopefully turn Dualshockers into a full-time job. And when I became an editor at the site, I primarily I during my interview for it, I put a huge emphasis on wanting to see the site turn into one of those big names, go from double A to triple A kind of thing.
Mhm.
And here we are 3 weeks later, and it's clear that the way that new management GRV has taken it, like Cam said, just did not vibe well with the rest of us. I'll let you guys say your piece, but it was a big shift from us being able to do largely kind of whatever we wanted. um I know I make it sound like a playground there. There was like discipline, you know, how we had due dates for things. um we had news that we had to get out, and big stories. We had previews. We did everything right, but we covered it in our way. And the way that the site is now, that was all off the table.
Yeah. Um, you know, again, when we found out that we were getting acquired, I was like super excited. I was like, this is awesome because, as I was on this, I've been on the staff longer than anyone else. And they like, there were points where they're like, hey, we're like investing to make it a reality where we can, like, because for those that don't know, like most people that work at Dualshockers did not get paid for their work. It was just more like a casual, like, uh a more casual thing. But then they also still like supported people that were trying to like, gain their footing in the industry on a journalistic side, and things like that. But they were like, we're putting in investments to make it so that we can pay everyone on staff and like things like that. um and so like this was kind of like for me the idea of like, okay, this is like somewhat finally paying off in a sense. um and I was super excited, and I never heard of GRV Media before this. But I was just like, okay, so I felt like that this was going to be a little bit of the more of the same, but we have different ownership, and we're all going to actually get paid, which was exciting. But then once we all had like a meeting with the owners and stuff like that, like getting introductions and things like that. Like honestly, like they're through my experience, they were generally nice people. Specifically, Vic, who is the like head person, the owner of sorts.
I think he's like CEO of GRV.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
like the
I believe
CEO.
he's the CEO.
Yeah, I genuinely had great conversations with him whenever I spoke with him. He seemed very nice and very professional. Um, and but there's just things kind of just, everyone started kind of explaining their own situations on what the site was trying to do that they weren't really liking, or personal experiences that of specific people in management, and all this stuff that it more or less just GRV Media just is like, the people were generally nice, but they just, and through my point of view, didn't really know how to run a game site, because games journalism is very different from any other journalism. So like, we had to explain like, hey, this is why we have to do this. This is why we have to do
Mhm.
that, even though it's, because GRV wanted to more or less just have SEO get better, and we get, on the front page of Google, we get views, that type of thing, and just grow in that type of way. But then there are like certain things that like aren't always going to get views, but game sites have to do because that's just how game sites work. And that was like kind of the message we were trying to get across to them, that like, you know, sometimes they slowly but surely understood, or sometimes they're just like, we're still not doing it.
It's a big point of all of this is that GRV came into it not really knowing, I don't think, what Dualshockers was beyond a simple explanation from the owners, maybe, or some kind of pitch deck to them. I don't know how much of the content they were familiar with, but it's very important to note that GRV, outside of Dualshockers and prior to owning Dualshockers, did not. Sorry for my dogs. Um, did not own any gaming media outlets. None of their brands were anywhere close to the game industry. All of them are either centered around soccer, soccer news, stuff like that, regional UK news, or celebrity gossip, like a small scale TMZ kind of thing. None of them were involved in the game industry, and the site's GRV's leadership was very, very, very far divorced from the games industry and gaming in general.
Self-admitted as well.
Yeah, self-admitted.
wow.
The owners, Vic and Grant, who is a co-founder. I don't know what his official position is. I mean, Vic's like a 60-year-old fella. He does not play games.
Like Gary Whitta. Just picture Gary Whitta.
He
Yeah.
literally sounds like Gary Whitta.
Sounds and looks
Actually
like Gary Whitta.
sounds like
Just
Gary.
just
But
picture
without
Gary
the
Whitta.
games experience.
Zero
Yeah.
games experience.
Got it.
100%.
Unabashedly, like
In
almost
fact,
proud of
might
knowing
hate
nothing
games.
about games.
Too old for games, more or
Yeah.
less. Direct quote.
Did you guys get the impression, and I don't want to ask like a leading question, but do you get the impression that they still don't look at as video games as like this mature media in a way that you can take it from a serious angle the way people do movies and television?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would absolutely say that.
absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
I would say
I think they view it as a cash cow. I think
Okay.
it is the hip thing, and it is a cash cow, and that it's not going away. That, I mean, for better or for worse, that's how like my conversations and just kind of hearing like Vic talk and stuff like that, it was never a we like you guys, we like your content, we think we could really do something special with this, as opposed to your name people recognize,
We like your numbers.
and we could make a lot of money from you. Like, that's the impression that I got.
And the more money
I
we
think
make
it's
from you, the
okay.
more money you make from us, kind of thing. It was always numbers driven, stuff like that. With GRV, never
So-
anything surrounding the actual content.
So it seemed like spirits were high. Like you guys are talking about them coming in, like it was very positive, and you're talking about these things that changed. Can you say what changed? About how you produce this content?
Yeah, going into it, like the first meeting with the owners when they told us that that Dualshockers was going to be acquired, one of the things they stressed was like the first 90 days, it's going to be business as usual as they kind of get a handle for us and kind of what's going on and where they can kind of come in and assist.
Mm-hmm.
That is what we heard from going in, like pre-acquisition. That's what we were told. It's like, okay, cool, let's really show what we can do, like put a lot of thought and effort into your features, your editorials, your videos to kind of wow them, so at the end of the 90 days, if they like you or are impressed with your stuff, you can be brought on full-time. That's kind of the pitch we were sold
Yeah.
by the owners.
Yeah, they might
like-
give
it was
tips
like
for
a long
SEO,
trial
and that's about
period.
it.
Yeah, it was going to be a trial period while both sides basically felt each other out and how the whole situation was going to work. From there, within the first week, it was within the first few days, really.
4
Um,
days.
I'd say day one, because like we immediately transitioned over to Slack, and then kind of they started pushing their content style on us.
It was basically the rule was if a term or something wasn't trending, we don't touch it.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
I actually don't know. I think I might have done the most articles out of the group of us when after we got under GRV ownership. But what Scott said is, yeah, pretty much true. We went from kind of covering the news of the day and then things that interested us, and then of course reviews, blah blah blah, to writing for Google is essentially the best way to really put it. We stopped writing for our audience, which Dualshockers has, kind of like a hardcore gamer audience. Lots of folks like that. Lots of Japanese games fans. That's why we always, did plenty of coverage for Japanese games. But GRV wanted us to kind of, well, it had the site pivot away from that towards getting every single article from Dualshockers to the first page on Google. And that's like in an effort to kind of make ourselves stand out among the GameSpot and IGN, PC Gamer, what have you, like the big players in games media. So everything was search engine optimization driven. Everything was SEO driven. If you didn't even pitch a story by what the topic of that story was, you pitched a story by a SEO key phrase. So if I was writing, for instance, a story about I don't know, Call of Duty Warzone, right? If it was like about the stim glitch that came back, I would have pitched it as the key phrase Warzone stim glitch, and then we would look in Google Trends to see if that was trending up. Then we would Google that term and see what came up. If it was a bunch of the larger outlets, we would be told to go and find a different story. And that
Because we can't compete.
yeah, because you can't compete with it because we it was like we were disregarding our own audience that would still come and read our stuff. It's not like when we wrote stories on that stuff within the past year that I've been at Dualshockers, it's not like it wouldn't do some kind of numbers. We would still have people reading our things. We would still have people, if, for instance, the biggest news story of last year possibly was Microsoft acquiring ZeniMax Media, right?
Yeah.
I went back over that article because I saved it from my portfolio today. It had 44 comments on it. It wasn't by any means not looked at. It was a huge story, and our audience took note. And instead, we totally ignored that in favor of just standing out in Google.
Interesting. Okay. So and please, of course, only answer this as per yourselves. Was it truly just a moral thing that made you guys want to step away from Dualshockers? Where like, I just don't feel the same pride in working here as I did a month ago, or were there actual things that went on that made you not enjoy the workplace anymore?
Well, okay. So, just speaking off my behalf, so for the past like few months, I've kind of been taking a sabbatical just because I'm getting married in May, and I just like wanted to take some time to focus on making sure my wedding doesn't, collapse because planning weddings is a big time commitment.
Congratulations.
And so,
Congratulations, of course.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And so I was just kind of like observing for the most part. Like I still had we all had like one-on-one conversations with Vic about just like kind of like pitching ourselves, like this is what we do, this is what we want to do for the site, this type of stuff. But I wasn't like the only time I was really writing is if like someone like there's a game to preview, a game to review, or if I wanted to write like an editorial opinion piece type thing. I wasn't really covering the news. So this whole SEO stuff, like I think Otto is definitely like just take his stuff for as true because like Scott did video stuff. Kris is another editorial heavy writer as well. So like Otto definitely knows about that stuff. But when it came to for me, I went to I was ready to like pitch an editorial to Ben, who was our features editor, And you know, I don't know the details, but like he seemingly had like one of the hardest fallouts on out of anyone of the staff on the site. And you know, I asked him like, hey, I want to write this editorial, and like, you know, as long as I have a good idea on exactly what I want to write about, like in the past, because we had a different features editor before Ben, I would be able to write it. Like I was never denied like you just can't write that. And this was the first time he was just like, can't write it, it's not trending. And I was like, what? That doesn't make what? I was so confused. And so yeah, it was that was kind of like my first kind of like red flag. I was like, this is the first time I've like never been told I can't write something, and that being the reason why. Uh and I think Kris might have had a similar experience. You know, obviously Kris can speak on that.
Yeah, I've got a fairly similar thing because I didn't end up writing a single article for GRV because I was one of the first to walk away. Within, again, the timeline was 4 days. And I probably have the most cynical take of it all, but I'll dabble in that later. But generally speaking, again, I write reviews, editorials, long form stuff. I'm not the typical day-to-day news writer. I'll only do it, you know, occasionally. So I'm looking, I have, you know, a handful of editorials that I've just got, you know, either in various stages of draft, writing, research, etc., because I like to, you know, do that stuff and make, you know, prestige articles. Essentially, they're not necessarily going to draw in huge views or whatever, but they matter to me and they matter to some people. And it's like, you come for the news, you stay for the, oh, that's a big article or a good review of X or Y or whatever. So yeah, and you can't necessarily plan those things around SEO trends as well. So that was very much a writing on the wall because I'm writing about 13 Sentinels. On the best day possible, no one is going to be trending 13 Sentinels because it's niche. It's really good, but it's niche. And I reviewed, like the first review I did this year was for a tiny little indie game from the Japanese scene that just got localized called Unreal Life. And I love that game. I thought that was great. I wouldn't have heard about it if Ian hadn't offered me the opportunity and was doing it because of their contacts and posting that. But again, like maybe 4 people in the English speaking world have actually played it. And so that's never, ever, ever going to get any kind of trend or traction whatsoever. But it might create the trend. It won't be able to follow a trend, but you never know what will create it. Like no one would have seen Among Us coming, for the example, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we wouldn't have covered Among Us until it was already gangbusters. You're chasing the trends, you're not leading the trends. There's no prestige in it, you're just chasing numbers, analytics. And as soon as that became clear, I just had a lot of misgivings. I aired that to the Dualshockers guys, just like what has now become dubbed my manifesto, basically. There's like a 2-part write-up of, I'm not sure about this. And then the day later, it's like, no, I'm really not sure about this, I'm walking. So I went into great detail and just the writing was on the wall for me, and so I'm just like, I'm out. This is not going to work out for me. And yeah, I've just been sitting back and watching it all snowball with utter horror, basically.
Yeah.
So what
hard
I'm
to-
gathering from this is that the SEO, focusing on the SEO aspect, if it was handled better, like if it was just like, hey, keep this in mind, and a pivot was made into how you already did what you did, that would have been much better than this hard press onto the SEO thing. Because from what
That
you
was
just told me,
patient.
from what you just told me, it seemed like it kind of made you feel shackled to current trends and nothing else.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, in that we were literally shackled to current. If something was not trending, you were not covering it. If other sites covered it already, you were not covering it. That is the MO over there currently.
It's a
I feel like that
pretty
gave
thin
them-
line.
It is an
Yeah,
extremely thin
exactly.
line. So
Yeah.
my most frustrating day with GRV, I had an agreement to write 5 articles a day, which is possible. You know, that's not a gigantic challenge. But the biggest frustration was getting pitches for articles turned down. My most frustrating day, I pitched 9 articles and only 5 of them I filled my quota, but I almost had an entire extra day's worth of news that was just said no to because couldn't find a good key phrase for it. Other sites had already covered it. It wasn't worth doing.
And this this week I have some adding on to specifically the SEO and the articles. This past week I got into a conversation where we were ahead on articles, according to the person I spoke with. That we were kind of ahead of where we would normally be that day, and someone had pitched a SEO key phrase in an article, and it was turned down because it was trending downward, or the phrase was trending downward. And it's like, why not let him write it regardless? I mean, you said yourself, um, we're ahead of where we need to be right now. It's still content. It's not like it's going to necessarily be a detriment. It would let someone write something they want to write about or find interesting. No, that would be a detriment. Why slow down? We can't slow down. We got to keep going. And it's like, well, he's not writing anything specifically right this moment, and it's still content. We're still ahead of where we got to be. It's still something people can click on. No, we can't do that. We can't slow down. It
Yeah.
was at that point where I was like,
Just
that's when
so
like
can't slow down.
everyone leaving were like definitely big red flags and everything, but being flat out told, even though it's more content, it's not trending, so you absolutely can't do it. Even if, like, I would get if we're behind that day, if it's a slower news day and if we don't have tons of articles or something, that no, we gotta play catch up maybe later. But it was always this, we have to establish this boot camp right now, that we instill these values now, and then in the future you'll gain more freedom. And it was such a kind of backwards approach for me to kind of wrap my head around, where I was looking at it as like, at least it's still content. I mean, hashtag everything's content, to just flat out be told no, you can't do something just because in a downtime where nothing's being written, no, you can't write something just because, specifically because it's not trending. That's when I was like,
Yeah, I have a
no
I have a
bueno.
similar I have a similar situation as well, because like when I had my one-on-one with Vic, which was that was that was the conversation where I really recognized like how just out of the loop they were with like anything regarding industry stuff. Like I was basically like, telling him like everything I've done on the site, like everything I've done outside of the site since, and I'm just like, and when I basically like told him like, he was basically just like, "Oh, do you get paid for those opportunities and things like that?" That sounds snarky. I don't know why I said that. I like said it like that, but like, again, he was very nice about it. He's like, but I was just like, well, sometimes, but most of the time, no. But I'm black. Like I'm black, and like black people don't get opportunities. So when you get those opportunities, you can't pass them up, whether or not you're getting paid or not. And he was just like, he was just so like, he wasn't like, he was legitimately like concerned, but also just like, why is that a thing? And I was just like, oh god, dude, you know absolutely nothing of what's going on here, do you? And like I told him, I was
Why
just
would
like,
you do something for free that you enjoy and not make money? Like, why
and
would
then,
you do
well, yeah,
something for
well,
free?
here's the thing, because he said like, he knows that he did recognize and state that like,
Mhm.
it's not about money for everybody, you know what I mean? But the thing that was like really weird, because I was like telling him, I was like, I could tell you all the notable black writers in the industry in 30 seconds. Like that's like, that's just how small of a list that is. And then I told him like, this is what I want to do on the site. I want to write, like, kind of like what Chris said. I want to write editorials. I don't really want to cover news that much because I don't enjoy that for the most part. I like writing opinion pieces, and I think that a lot of people, like, on whether it be on Twitter or in general, they wait for me to release those pieces, and they like want to read those things. And so, like he said, like, well, you could write those things, but the outcome of them would depend on whether or not you get paid. I'm just like, so I would have to write something for the site, and then after publishing it, that's when you guys get to determine whether or not I get paid for it. And because I get it, like you gotta make money to like pay your employees. Like I get that, but it's just like I would rather get hired, like, for a position doing those things I said I would want to do for less money, that is like guaranteed regardless of the results of the articles, then it be it depends on how well the the article does, because like that's not fair. Like, and if you, and even so, like, it's just like, kind of like what Scott said, like if why not just let people who aren't being paid by you, just write for you like for free, and they make content for your site, and then they can build on their portfolio. Like where's the loss there? Like I really don't get it.
Like
It
it's been
was
done
really
for a while now.
it was really bizarre. I don't know, my conversation with him was genuinely again, genuinely good dude, but it just like some of the stuff he was saying, I was just like, I don't get this mentality. So it was interesting.
What's interesting is my conversation with the individual that I talked with, or that I mentioned just before Cam told his story, was this was after like 10 people had already left. And I was like, we're bleeding people right now. It's anything to kind of give a smidgen of a morale boost just to let people write. And it's like, no, gotta keep pushing forward. I hear what you're saying. We gotta keep pushing forward. It's like, but we don't have anybody.
It's so
You are
funny.
hemorrhaging.
We are
It's so funny
hemorrhaging
that-
people.
It's so funny that you said that they wanted to keep pushing forward. The way that news is being done with the pitching a key phrase first and all those articles that I said getting turned down, it made work that should take, I don't know, 3.5 hours tops, right? Something like that, half a day's work. It made it take about 6 hours instead. I would be sitting like at my computer from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. trying to get 5 articles out because the majority of what or like a solid portion of what I would pitch just would get turned down. And that greatly slows down any kind of production on any gaming website when you're having writers source the news all by themselves and constantly saying, no, you can't write that.
So I kind of used the term a pivot earlier, and from what you guys are telling me, it seems like it was more like a 360. Like there was no push and pull. There just like was there
More
a push
of a
and pull?
180 than 360.
Okay.
360
Yeah,
would be
180.
still
My
be
bad.
perfect.
My
Yeah,
bad.
no.
Numbers.
Hard turn, big hard turn to a completely different direction than the site was going. It was essentially the opposite. Yes.
I would say it was more akin to GRV using the plane shift spell from Dungeons and Dragons
Christ.
and literally taking us from our normal world and shifting us into a completely different plane of existence.
Dualshockers has gone from, and this is what I'm seeing from it, working with its leadership, gone from a place where people could write news, write reviews, editorials, features, etc., pursue any story that they pitched that seemed interesting and worthwhile. It's gone from that to essentially a content farm.
It
I-
sounds like it lost its heart.
Heart, soul,
Yep,
mind,
100%.
body.
multiple
Oh, body's still
ends.
there.
I didn't mean to
I
cut you
think
off. I apologize.
that's my bad as well. But I think I worded it the most cynically. It's that GRV came in, they didn't care who Dualshockers was, didn't care anything about that. They wanted GRV gaming, didn't want to take the time, effort, knowledge, etc., to actually build it up. So they bought us, they bought our numbers, and then they're just like, okay, cool, we'll rip this out, carve the organs out, flay the skin, put it on a Twitter bot that regurgitates trending news. That's what they want. That's what they've got. And that's why most of us are in various stages of, like, nope, not for us anymore. Creative autonomy is gone.
Various stages of looking for work.
That's what I was going to ask, is for how many of you guys, whether it be here or if you just roughly know a statistic about the old employees in general, was Dualshockers your first real job or even job at all in like gaming journalism or this sphere of work?
It was mine.
It was
your first.
my first real one, I guess, because prior to working at Dualshockers, I've only written at this small board gaming / video game outlet called Sprites and Dice from my college town. Yeah, Dualshockers was my first step into not exactly the big leagues, but getting damn close to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This
Right.
Dualshockers is the most well-known site I have definitely been with, but like Irrational Passions, a lot of people knows about that, but it's not as it's not so much a news site. It's more of just kind of content you want to do because why not? Prior to that, I had started my own game site, Dashing Nerds, that I split from. But Dualshockers was the first one. It's like, okay, we have like Nintendo contacts. We have people that are sending us gear to review and reaching out to us to review things.
We have
Um,
50,000 followers on
yeah,
Twitter.
yeah, like so, definitely the biggest and most mainstream site
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
echoing the sentiments. I've done other things, little things here, but Dualshockers was like the big one, arguably the longest one, and yeah,
So I can't imagine it was easy for anyone to leave, considering you guys were probably using this as a way to make your careers or your names more well known.
Uh, it at least for me, when I left on Friday, it was one of the easiest one of the easiest decisions I had ever made. Honestly, at this point, it wasn't Dualshockers anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And everyone like leaving Dualshockers, it, I know more people than I did going out. I didn't leave on bad blood with any of these wonderful folks that I left with. I met so many wonderful friends and uh, people that I'll have ties with and bonds with for the rest of my life. I have a fantastic contacts and support system, as we all do. So for me, it was just I can't. It's not worth the stress anymore. It's not worth kind of the anxiety. So for me, anyway, it was a pretty easy decision. Sad, but it was easy.
Of course, yeah.
It was a very, very difficult one for me because I had been at Dualshockers for I actually just recently celebrated my 1 year anniversary with the site. My 1 year was January 27th. I started it as a staff writer, and within about, I think it was 10 or 11 months, I became an editor, and I firmly believed that with enough work from our editorial board, by picking up new staff writers, and just by encouraging folks, that the site could grow into something massive. I genuinely loved Dualshockers and was very,
Mhm.
very, very proud to call it my home. So leaving it was an agonizing decision because I also was planning on sticking it out. I was planning on going for at least 3 months and then seeing how things go from there. If there's a change back to kind of how things were, but I heard that more changes were coming, and eventually there was just one day where it was the morning where that CD Project Red news came about, that some bad actors had hacked into the company and stolen data, files, etc.
big
Biggest news
news.
of that day. Biggest news of that day. Something that that I would wake up at 8 a.m. and get right on my computer and start typing out an article for. Um, on any other given day last year, if it had happened. Um, and that morning I pitched it, was told no, other sites had covered it already. I don't know what we could add.
Doesn't make any
Find something
sense.
else. And so instead of finding something else, I wrote my resignation letter. It was a painful, hard decision, that I had to contact some friends and be like, hey, I gotta just talk this out with you. Do you think this is a smart move? And they're like, well, how do you feel? I'm like, I'm fucking miserable. So they said, yeah, do it.
Do it, yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was. I don't. I like. For me, I was in a very much like wait and see type scenario because there were like I was like I did speak with like people that were like sticking with the site and like just said like I know that a lot of people are leaving, but like kind of like try and like don't let like the that like overwhelm you and like kind of like just try and be more objective with your viewpoint than other people's experiences. And I was like, yeah, I get that for sure. um you know and because I was kind of like in this sabbatical of sorts. I was just like, I'm going to be in a wait and see type situation, and see how things go. And then I woke up in the morning. Like I think it was the day I resigned. I think it was on Monday or Tuesday of this past week, the 11th. No, that was
Yeah.
2 days ago. That was 2 days ago. Was
Yeah,
that 2
dude.
days ago?
Time flies when you quit your
Thursday.
job.
This entire thing is in less than 2 weeks.
Was it 2
less
days
than
ago?
2 weeks since GRV took
Wow.
over.
It felt like 7 days ago. Let me tell you.
Dude, I quit this week. It was this Tuesday that I quit. I can't believe that.
But then I woke up and then like I was like seeing things like on Twitter where it's just like, oh, like there was like Dualshockers like sourced a guide with like a link or something. I was just like, okay, like that was like kind of like the, all right, like I gotta hop out. Like there's just I don't know. I just, and another thing that was really upsetting too was just like, oh, they said like, oh, we're not gonna write as many reviews for the site because basically they don't trend, like only the big games. I'm like, well, that's how people get like exposed to not like, those games that like don't have the flexibility or the budget or anything like that. Like they have to rely on
indie
those reviews. They actually have to rely on those reviews to get people to play their games, dog.
Mm-hmm.
And so I
IGN
was
doesn't
just like,
review every game.
and then yeah, exactly. And then it's just like and then they were like, oh, we're gonna like start moving to guides and stuff. Like not everybody wants to write guides. Like dude, salute to those who write guides, because I do not want to touch that with a 10-foot
Yeah, it
pole.
is a tough thing to do.
Yeah, like shout out to the guide writers out there, because that's something I will never touch with a 10-foot pole. Like not my thing. But like I'm like, I don't what if the people who are hired don't want to write guides? Like I don't get it. And it was just it was just like, I don't know. But when I started seeing that like so many people on Twitter were also just like realizing, hey, like this is a problem, and like and then with the guide stuff, and I was just like, this is like the day to call my exit, because I think that like at that point it kind of set a precedent for those like that decided, like for me personally, if I decided to stay or go, because I think that like I think that I have a certain level of influence, I guess, where people will be like why is Cameron still staying there with all this stuff going on? Because like that doesn't, like, people know me, like I'm my genuine self, like I have no like filter, so they would be like, this doesn't seem like something Cameron would be cool with, which I'm not, which is why I left. I was like, I'm out. So that's why I left. I was just like, yeah, this is the time. I can't just like observe any longer. Like I don't see, things were just getting worse and worse for the things that I specifically wanted to do at a site. And I was just, yeah, so it was one of those things where like it sucks. It obviously sucks. Like I'm forever thankful um to Dualshockers, because I don't know where I'd be if it wasn't for that site and the people that were there. But yeah, it was just one of those things. For me, it was just one of those situations, like it had to be done. Like it sucked, but it had to be done. I wasn't like really I wasn't really struggling with it or anything like that. Like I just like, people messaged me, like Scott messaged me. It's like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm fine. Just had to be done. You know what I mean?
Cam, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Did you eventually think that the Dualshockers name had become like caustic?
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
That having your name next to Dualshockers was bad for you?
Oh,
Because that is at a certain point, that is how I felt.
I don't think it was. I think that if I stayed any longer, it would have been.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. It hit me hard that day that Ben so there was a big hullabaloo when our features editor Ben left. He's
That was my
he's
turning
he's
point too.
he's hard of hearing, and he often covered accessibility for Dualshockers. And he did damn fine work on it too. He is a grade A writer, and he's already over freelancing at The Gamer, which he absolutely deserves. He deserves that and more. And there was one point where it was very early on, maybe I think within the first week of GRV kind of directing us, that he pitched a story that had to do with accessibility and was told, no, you can't cover that because it is not trending. And that was the first point. Yeah, shake your heads. It is I'll say it now. It's fucked up that is the approach that they took and are still taking. GRV wants to do something for accessibility coverage going forward. I largely consider any future efforts from them an attempt to save face. Because
They had it. They had the
yeah,
best. It does great work.
absolutely. And they told him no. So that was the first point where I said, I, for once, for the first time in my entire career here, feel ashamed to be associated with Dualshockers. And the second was earlier this week when I won't call it plagiarism because I cannot legally say that it was. To me, it was plagiarism of a guide. At Dualshockers, and I said, this is absolutely ridiculous. I can't have my name associated with this. I think that was actually the day after I left, but it
That
made
was
me very, very happy that I left. It was
yeah.
like yesterday or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, it was. I think it was the day I left.
It was
'Cause that was
Wednesday.
It was
Wednesday, my
Wednesday? Okay.
dudes. Yeah. So
'cause
okay,
okay.
that was the day after I left, and it made me very happy to not have my name associated with Dualshockers anymore, you know. And that's something that hurts me to say because again, it is a site filled with people that I love and a site that I have deeply, deeply enjoyed being at for the past year.
Yeah, and I also want to say that, like, the stuff with Ben was like definitely not cool. And then they made it, even though Ben like already left, they made it sound like, because I spoke with someone who's still on the staff there, that they are working on doing the accessibility stuff. But and then I said, like, can we get Ben back? Like, I was trying to resolve this, like, bring a happy ending to the story. I was like, can we get Ben back? Like, and then he said, like, I think that situation with Ben and Vic, like, bridges have been burned, like, that there's no rebuilding that. And I was like, but why not just try? And like, I was trying to say, like, why not just try? Like, worst thing to worst, it just doesn't happen. But like, Sam was just like, like, and no, like, I don't want to like say it's Sam's fault because it's not. But I was just like, I just don't. It's just like, he's the chief of staff now, and like at that time as well, I was just like, can you not just like bring the idea to Vic and Ben? Like, that's kind of your job. You're kind of like in this middle ground where you're supposed to like have like, you're a middleman, you know what I mean? You're more or less a middleman to a certain degree. So this is like what you should be. This is what you should do. And I don't know if he ever did or not, but that was like really frustrating to me, even though they said that they were working on the accessibility thing. So that's when I was like, kind of like, okay, well, at least like, it sucks that the situation with Ben didn't go the way it should have, but it looks like that they're learning, like, because again, like, they didn't know anything about the industry. So I like gave them the benefit of the doubt, like, they're learning, they're trying to fix this, but then, yeah, when the guy plagiarism and stuff happened and things like that, I was just like, I gotta leave. I can't be here anymore.
So
In
And,
absolute
and
defense of the plagiarism thing, he did source it. It may not have been prominent top of the article, this sourced primarily, but it was in there, and it just wasn't clear, and a lot of clarity had to be done. So not throwing our co-writer under the bus or anything like that,
No,
because
no.
No,
yeah,
not at all.
he was being. I fully imagine he's having to meet quotas. He's having to do guides. That's not what he did previously. I can only imagine the
Yeah.
pressure he's under, which is what came to that situation.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
And like,
And-
we don't know if like there was just like, hey, this is how you should format this guide. Like, we don't know, like, I don't know if GRV likes it, like, hey, do it this way, because that very well could have been the case as well. So it's no fault to the writer of that guide, but it was still just my immediate thought was like, GRV told this person to format it like this. I was just like, no.
for me, like, even with these guides and a lot of the articles, they just, even just opening them up on the page and looking at them, they just look cheap. There's no images. It's just a couple bullet points, a couple sentences, and that's the article. Whereas before, it's like each article you had to have images in it. Like there was
300 words
personality
long.
in each one. Where I mean, just looking at them, it's just like a blank page with a couple bolded lines, a paragraph, maybe a couple sentences, and then it's done. It just feels cheap. It doesn't have any. It looks like it's just there to fill a quota, like
Boilerplate
and
carbon copy kind of
that
thing.
hurts. Yeah.
That's
Do you
the
want
sort
to
of
talk
thing
more?
that
I was gonna say, Scott, did you want to talk more about the video side of things? Because that was another thing
Yeah.
that they wanted to do for the
Yeah,
site.
so the first few weeks, well, like I guess like the first week and a half, the video crew, which consisted of Mario, Nick, Peter, and I, we pretty much weren't talked to. Um, it was pretty hands off. They didn't really tell us anything, and it was very much the feeling of um, we're the afterthought. Uh, like it was, we had a bit of a goal where have 5 videos a week, one on each day between the 4 of us. And for each video we publish, we would get $100 for the month of February. And then earlier this week, we got a message from one of the new kind of, I don't even know his title, but this gentleman named Liam, who was kind of heading things. Do you any Otto or Cameron or Chris? Do any of you guys know like what his official title was for Dualshockers?
So far as I know, he was in charge of like a lot of the sports websites. There was like one other part of
Mhm.
there was like one writer under one of the brands of GRV that did gaming, and he was
Mhm.
in charge of that fella too. So I think that was his like official title, head of sports and gaming kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't quote
No.
me on that. That is what I roughly remember.
Mhm.
When we were moved into the
Um.
Slack, he was the one in charge. That's all I knew, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I want to say it was probably Tuesday. We got a or he sent Mario a message that he wanted to meet with the video team and go over some ideas and plans that we had. So we met on Wednesday, and of this past week that just happened. And we heard about that he had exciting news for us, and his exciting news was they were going to bring in, from what it sounded like, kind of a consultant kind of thing to help with thumbnails, like a graphic designer that has a different site. I think it's also under GRV. I don't think it's under GRV, but to bring in who's a graphic designer and does to help with thumbnails and stuff. And I'm a graphic designer and stuff by trade, and it's like, okay, well, I will happily sit down with him, kind of go over our current thumbnails. I just put together a brand new template in assets for our own videos that we've been trying out this past week, and I'll be happy to sit down with him, kind of brainstorm with him and talk to him. That and with the videos to kind of that we could be a bit quirky and kind of very much kind of throw things on the wall and see what sticks in terms of popularity. Excuse me. And at this point, I was genuinely kind of excited. Otto and the others will attest. I have some crazy ideas, and I think of uh creative content ideas. So I was like,
Scott is a never-ending idea factory, and everyone is fucking pure 32 karat gold.
so I was like, okay, cool. I can
32
put some of
carats.
these into practice, see what sticks. It'll be fun. It was, and then so that was Wednesday, and the rest of the video team and I talked after, and it's like, yeah, there was some apprehension, but at the same time, we were kind of okay. They're paying attention. We can kind of get a better idea. And then on Thursday, things kind of hit the fan. You had the plagiarism video and everything. Did it not? Kind of everything happened, and that was the day that Mario and Nick ended up leaving. And we had gotten a kind of a document brainstorming from Liam outlining kind of the goal or the aim that that GRV wanted the YouTube channel to go in, that quirky, interesting, unique, funny, and out of the ordinary video content, which is not like traditional gaming journalism or YouTube channels. That was specifically what we were requested like to think of. To avoid producing content similar to IGN, Kotaku, and more along the lines of like a Eurogamer or a Polygon. That's kind of what they wanted us to go, kind of giving us a guidance on video run times and to produce, create basically saying you don't create unscripted videos, you don't do long videos, you don't run series of videos that have to like episodes that you have to watch the next one to continue the story. They didn't want that, but it was starting to get where um the new graphic guy sent a bunch of templates for a video that I posted on Friday. It was my last video. Um and I sent back my critique. It's like, hey, can we incorporate more elements A, elements B, and stuff? And Liam had wrote back and was like, I don't know what that means. I need you to be more constructive with your responses. And we're going with this guy's designs. And it's like, well, just so you know, I did recently redo the templates and things like that. And so I explained my exact words. By tabletop, I mean more of a focus on the elements of tabletop RPGs, dice map, books, stuff like that. And in terms of the design, I specifically asked, is there an issue with the designs that we've been doing most recently with the thumbnails? At that point, about a week's worth of video thumbnails. Does Matt have any suggestions that I could just make to my template, and there would be no need to make additional templates or cost additional things? Because that was one of the things he said, is like, we don't have time or the budget to pay him for another round of templates and designs. And it's like, I mean, I have my templates. We're fine. I just let's brainstorm a bit. And I sent that to him in the evening, and he responded, so it's the case of needing change. The videos are not getting the view any of us want or need, so we need to change something, right? In this case, we want to tweak thumbnails, intros, and the general type of content. Then we can review after some videos and take our next steps. We will have some more news tomorrow. So I don't know, was like he was equating the views to the thumbnail specifically, and so I responded, we just started with these thumbnails on the video in the past week or so. I don't know if the thumbnails really need to be adjusted already to another new style until we get better data with the new ones that we've been using. So this was the night before. So this was still Wednesday, I want to say. No, this was Thursday at this point. I said, I'm definitely down to talk to the new person and see if he thinks we should add more text to the thumbnails or brainstorm on tweaks to these. But I don't really think trying another new template is really called for just yet. Would that work? So I woke up to, hey, Scott, so both Mario and Nick decided that they were going to hand in their resignation last night, which I'm not sure has filtered through to you and Peter. This leaves us with little choice but to increase the input on the YouTube channel from other sources, as we are 2 video editors and 1 manager short. New person will be coming on board as the video manager in place of Mario, where we will use his graphics and ideas, while a YouTuber from one of our other channels will likely come in to help ensure we hit our video quota. I know you're skeptical about the widespread changes on YouTube, but if people decide to leave, then this only forces our hand to make changes even more so. If you would like to stay on board, then we are more than happy to continue working with you, although we also understand the changes may be too much, alike like Nick and Mario. The choice is yours. Cliche supervillain line. With after that, I just asked him, Liam, what what say and input would Peter and I have in anything going forward? I mean, we had been with the site, we had been doing video, etc. He said, we still need people to produce videos so you can pitch ideas and take ideas going forward. But mainly, you'll need to adhere to the new content style and direction and take on board any advice given and adjust your videos accordingly. So I took that as like, you are a workhorse to just pump out what you were told to pump out. That's kind of the vibe that I was getting at this point. So I responded, I'm curious why the decision for this sort of style of dynamic as opposed to more of a team-based collaborative direction between those who have been here and those being added in. In response to this point being addressed, look, as said before, we don't have time for all these discussions, etc. It will be a team led by Matt, including Peter, and we're after one other YouTuber. If you want in, that's great, and we will continue from there.
A team, he says.
Yes.
Jeez.
You are a team, and a team led by the new person. At which point I just asked him, I get that he feels like he was in a crunch and we're supposed to build like that they're in a crunch, but how is this whole approach kind of supposed to build any sense of morale? To just say, hey, this guy you've never met, spoken with, worked with, or had any interaction with will now have complete say in everything you do. You think it you could think it all you want, but letting us meet and talk to the guy first and get to know him before telling us could go a long way too. Even with the new guy coming in and the new guy, views wouldn't skyrocket in a day. So how bad would it have been to just talk to the guy in sort of an icebreaker first? Liam responded, I understand, but everyone is moving at a rapid pace. I have the afternoon to sort out the video team, so we're ready to go from now. So at this stage, it's a simple question of are you in or not? I said, can I speak with the guy? I don't get what you need to be speaking about. The process will be pitching ideas to the new guy or taking ideas from the new guy, producing the videos and having him approve title and make thumbnails. Obviously, you can speak once it's started, but talking is extended and unnecessary time just to get started.
Wow.
It's not how teamwork
so-
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Pretty
the first time
much.
that we're hearing this conversation too, by the way. Like, so.
Oh wow.
Well, I had
No.
posted this whole conversation in Slack or Discord cam.
Oh, I missed it then. I missed it. This is the first
yeah,
time
this
I'm seeing
this
it.
whole thing
Yeah.
isn't.
And you
our
shared it with
Discord.
me as it broke. You
Yeah.
basically came to me immediately, and I was livid.
Yeah.
Like, I just did not know how to process this. I'm like, I feel like I'm a worse person by being in proximity to friggin' Liam's words. Like, how the. So, yeah.
Shocked,
Um,
honestly,
Here's
I'm
the-
shocked.
Here's the
No,
thing.
that's
Oh, we're not done yet.
Oh,
Oh
no.
god. Oh god.
Oh no.
Oh god.
Oh, we're
Okay.
not. So I asked, it's like,
I'll
so I
be
can't
right
speak
back.
with him first to get an idea of what he's thinking for Dualshockers, content ideas, style, etc. Liam responded, we don't have these mapped out. There's no point in setting an exact style and then it doesn't get any views. We trial stuff, we work off what goes well. All pointers on content and style are in the email and in the doc pinned to our video group, the one that I mentioned with don't be like IGN a Game Informer. So that's a no on any sort of meeting first to get to know the guy. First to talk to the guy and get to know him. And talk shop. He responded, no, we're not here to talk shop.
What?
So simply at wanting to talk to this graphic designer that was going to be leading our group in any sort of manner, no, we're not here to talk shop. Nope, you can't talk to him. There's no point. Unnecessary time.
That's just not how designing works.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's just like a terrible work environment too. Like,
no, exactly.
Absolutely.
And this is specifically what I called out to in my kind of farewell from Dualshockers. It's like this conversation, this interaction, I have never felt as belittled and disregarded in my entire professional experience. It's like I wasn't asking for anything crazy. I just
Right.
wanted to meet the guy that I
Yeah,
was going to be
simply
working under.
conversation. It's
Just
a simple conversation. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
if we're going to be using his thumbnails or whatever, just let me talk to him. I'm a professional graphic designer too. I can talk. We can talk shop. We can figure out, okay, kind of brainstorm. No, we're not here to talk shop. It was at this point I was like, okay, I need to get my ducks in a row, because honestly at this point, with when Mario and Nick left, I was like, there's no way Peter and I can keep up a 5 video a week schedule. I'm not going to stress myself out to do that. And I just have to last long enough to fulfill my prior commitments I had made to a couple tech places that had sent me and are going to send me, or were going to send me, products to review that I had agreed to, and I didn't want to screw them over. But after this conversation, I reached out to Sam and was like, can you guarantee that this review of mine will go out this week? Like, if I can get it to you, can you get it published? It's just like, I can't I can't do this anymore. I can't be in this kind of environment. And luckily he agreed, and I thank you guys for holding this up, because I don't want to penalize or hurt the people that had sent me stuff to cover at Dualshockers to not get the content they were expecting.
Of course, like due dates are due dates, and you still have to stick by that.
Right. And but after this, it's like, this I can't work under this leadership. Like, I don't want to work under this leader. This isn't
Yeah.
leadership. It's
No one
here's the thing. I was talking to, and this is when I was talking to Sam again when we were having our discussion. I was telling him, like, I feel like the main issue here is that Vic is telling us one thing and then Liam is doing another thing. Because when I spoke to Vic, because people were, because Kris has already left. He's like, I feel
Mhm.
like we aren't getting the creative freedom that we used to have, and that's something that I cared about a lot too. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna entertain this one-on-one with Vic and see what happens. And I said, like, I think the main thing that the staff is worried about is being able to have the creative freedom to do basically whatever we want. And he says, you do have the creative freedom. It's just whether or not you'll get paid for it or not. But then we hear like these things like, like that Liam says, it's like, oh, this can't go up because it's not trending. Oh, go up. Even though like you're not getting, even though it's like free content, like it doesn't make sense. But so then like I told Sam, I was like, hey, like I think a great idea because of this lack of communication is to have like a open forum, where, with Vic and whoever else from GRV and the staff, to be like, hey, it's been like a week already and shit has already started to hit the fan.
Mhm.
We need to like get our shit together. We need to realize what is the actual situation here. We need to like get all the cards on the table. We need to like know everyone's what we actually can and cannot do, because we're being told two different things as a staff, as a site. And then we were planning on doing it, and then for some reason it just didn't happen. I don't remember why. Like I don't want to say it was due to some like BS reason, but like I remember it was like set to be a certain day, and then it just didn't happen, and I don't remember
I
why.
think only one or two of the video guys said we could make it, and then I'm not sure if any of the editors besides you said they could. Like, it was a very low, like, no one can make it, because it was like last minute. It was going to be like on a Saturday
Yeah,
morning
yeah.
or early afternoon, and it was posted like Friday at 10 o'clock.
It was
And
shortly after that I talked to Sam that like they brought it up on Slack, and I was just but even with it not happening, I'm like, okay, we need to reschedule this for another time, and that didn't
Mhm.
happen. So it's just like, and that was like
Yeah.
that's like I feel, in my opinion, as a site, from what I've seen and what I've like heard, is that there's just mainly two things. One, they don't know how to run a video game site, and two, there's just like really bad communication, or like just you know different people telling us different things. And so that's why I feel like the two major issues are at hand with the site right now.
One thing that's constantly surprised me was the absolute lack of any sense of concern by GRV. Like after Ryan and a bunch of senior people, excuse me, left, there was no outreach. There was no, hey, we noticed things are happening. Are you okay? What are your concerns? There was none of that sort of, okay, something is up. What can we do? There was none of that discussion really had, um, or even brought up by anyone from GRV, which really surprised me.
They're all just going to replace us. They don't care. They just want people to feel like
No, exactly. And what was it? It was the day that Ben left, like right after Ben had posted that he was leaving Dualshockers. Someone from GRV on the Dualshockers Twitter account posted that they were looking for UK based freelancers for writers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then responding to the Twitter trolls after Sophia mentioned or tweeted out about us, and just a very like, no, don't do that.
You don't know what you're doing. Do not step on these landmines. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there's your leg.
To say that this is unfortunate isn't doing it justice, but I think I speak on behalf of everyone at Waypoint and a lot of people who are seeing this go down, that we are sorry this happened. That doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't help you at all, but we are rooting for you. We want you
are.
to find other work. We want
This
you to
is-
get out there and put your names out there. So just know that. I hope that helps even a minuscule amount. We are rooting for you back here.
Yep, just the few of you guys that I happen to do follow, it's like I saw this, like, we need to do something. We have a small platform, like we need to do something about this. Like,
I tweeted out, I was like, can someone talk about this? Like, can someone cover this, please? So then Al Bob was like, can we do it? And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it.
It's,
Well,
legitimately,
And it's
no one-
appreciated.
Yeah.
No one
It
reached
really
out to me, because I have like, like I'm not trying to like I'm not trying to flex or anything, but like I have people that could do that
mhm.
following me on Twitter, and no one reached out to me. So like
Mhm.
when Albob did, I was just like, let's do it. Like you're the first person to
Yeah.
reach out to me, so let's do it. And
Mhm.
no
That's-
one, even after that, no one reached out to me. Like after Albob,
That
did, so-
surprises me, honestly.
That has been the most surprising thing to me. Is like the first thing I saw was what you mentioned, Otto, with the accessibility, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, like that's horribly fucked up. But then when I saw all the people leaving, and again, that's like a horribly fucked up thing for them to say and have a stance on, I was like, there's no way that one thing caused this many people to leave. And I've been trying to do research on it, and no one's talking about it. I've seen tweets from people from IGN and people who work at GameSpot, but
Mhm.
none of these people are actually reporting on the situation.
Yeah. I can say that there are other members of Games Media that have reached out to former members of Dualshockers, including me, and I think it best if we keep those names and those topics under
Mhm.
wraps for the time being, to
cool.
see
Absolutely. No,
where
of course.
those conversations go. But I will say now, the recognition of what is happening and has happened at Dualshockers, it doesn't just go to extends far past people saying, we're seeing what happens, we're very sorry about this, we're hoping the best for you, how can we support you. There are people out there that see it as industry news. Whether whether the story becomes a published article, I do not know and cannot say, but I can say that there are people that have reached out.
I think eventually there will be an article.
Oh yeah.
When that will happen, who knows? I don't know. And like one
On
of the
it,
things,
Jason Schreier. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
It's a small thing. We won't care.
This does, to me, kind of feel similar to, and I don't remember the website's name, but I think it was like Kotaku's like a sister website that was about sports, but they had that one section where they would discuss current events or pop culture or entertainment, and they were bought out by new people. They're like, no, sports only, nothing else.
Mm,
And all those writers like protested or quit.
yeah. Yeah, that is, I'd say, a very much similar situation, except I wouldn't characterize what I, along with a lot of my other former coworkers, have done as a protest. I'd say it's just more been an outright,
Oh no, of course, yeah.
yeah, just a fundamental disagreement.
and
Yeah,
with the
100%.
DualShockers still has some fantastic talent behind it. It has Sam, it has Merdad, it has Gabe, it
Rachel.
has Rachel, it has Ian's. And those are the ones that have signed on for full-time jobs. And I mean, you still have Lou there. I mean, there's still a lot of good talent there, and we wish them all the best. Like, if they, I'm hoping every day that they can bring back kind of the heart and soul that old DualShockers was. I genuinely do. I hope they succeed. They are living. Granted, this is probably a very rough patch for them. In awkward for them. They're living their dream. They're covering the games industry, full time, and I wish them all the best. And we have nothing. I have nothing bad to say about any of them. I love them all.
100%.
They've supported me and all of us at the site, and that's one of the things that I want to make very clear is there's no animosity between the DualShockers that have left, the ones that remain. We're still very much a family, and if anything, this whole situation has made us all grown closer. And respect one another more. So it's like Otto said, this is definitely not a protest. We did not leave out of protest. It was, for me, it was a fundamental disagreement with the direction and kind of the management style. That's not to say fuck DualShockers, don't support them. It's just I can't, in good conscience, just keep going in that on that path. So
No, I totally get that. And I also, can't fault anyone for deciding not to leave because one, that's a personal thing that you have to make the decision of. But two, it's like it's not easy for someone to make that decision in the midst of a pandemic where jobs are not guaranteed the way they were before.
Yeah. Especially jobs inside of games media. They are few and far between, and DualShockers was one with freedoms that are basically par none.
Yeah.
It certainly never paid the most, but it was
I never paid. I never saw a paycheck from DualShockers, and that was
Mhm.
fine. I got to work with great people, get my name out there, and produce cool content.
Yeah,
It's
same
like,
here.
okay, cool.
But exactly. It was a platform for us to give our voices to, something to put daily effort into, and if you cared about it, if you really loved it, hopefully see it grow more and be there when it finally breaks that glass ceiling.
Absolutely.
Are there any other things that haven't been said that they want to say? Anything along those lines? Because Cam, do you have a heart out?
I'm okay right now. I have
Okay.
time.
I actually do need to leave in about 10 minutes. I'm very sorry,
Okay.
everyone.
No
So
apologies needed. So
I'll say before you do, just plug your stuff. Just need to make a heart out. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we still got 10 minutes, so
That's
before
true.
Otto
That's
has to
true.
dip, so
That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, like just echoing everything that Scott said is 100% true. Like I like Luke and Taldi. I'm gonna say it right now. Luke and Taldi is low key one of like
Best
that
boss I've ever
man.
had.
Like
Best boss
literally
I've ever
like
had, man.
Him and
the
Ryan,
most
man,
like
fuck.
from a behind the scenes perspective, like Luke and Taldi is like the best mentor. Like he like I would not I literally owe my career to that man. And because that's the thing that made DualShocker so great was that, and I said this when I like on my tweet when I said that I was leaving, that like DualShockers, I have a degree in journalism, but like leaving leaving college, I didn't really have a portfolio of things that were like relative to video games, right? Because it's just like, oh, this is your local news and stuff like that. I'm like, that's not what I want to do. So I didn't have a portfolio, but I told him I had a degree, and so he took a chance on me. He's just like, you don't have to like be someone to like, or like, you can get your start at you can be a casual person that just wants to decide to get into video game writing, and DualShockers was willing to take that chance on you. And I don't know if they're going to do that moving forward, but like that's the thing that I'm really going to miss about DualShockers, because like I don't, I know that there are plenty of other sites that are probably like that, but it was really nice with like Nick, for example, who left, who was our video guy. Like I told him, like he messaged me, and like DM me saying like, hey, like, asking how he could probably like potentially get a job, like getting, asking for advice. And I was just like, honestly, pitch to Dualshockers because they will probably take you. Like they do that, And like next thing I knew, like he was working there, and Sam, who still works there, he followed me and like he talked to me before working at Dualshockers. I didn't really know that he was trying to get a job in the industry at the time, but then, a few weeks later, here he is hired at Dualshockers, and it's just like, I don't know, it's just it's so great like seeing these people um like get their start at Dualshockers and grow and build their careers. I'm man, and like so shout out to Lou, again, like the owners, the original owners, founders, Yaris, Joel and Al. Shout out to them for making a really special site that hopefully can be back to that way sometime in the future. So
Yeah, there's something to be said for the old leadership at Dualshockers. Lou, I he, I emailed him throughout a lot of 2019, and then I think it was January 1st, 2020. He digs through his emails and he finds me and he messages me on LinkedIn and says, "Hey, I see you have all these emails. Why don't we talk? Why don't we get you started?" And I do not know where I would be in this industry, in the gaming community, without Luke Cataldi and Dualshockers and the editor in chief at the time, Logan Moore, and then the editor in chief after his departure, Ryan Metzler. Every single person that was a leader at Dualshockers was more than an excellent mentor. They were also an excellent friend.
100%.
And
Absolutely.
still are.
Yeah,
Yeah, and still are.
still are. And that's something that the site has lost since being acquired. There are a lot of behind all the differences in what writers think the site should be, and then what it actually is in communication. It all stems from massive leadership issues. Um, it's something that was never an issue at the site, but is very much real there now.
There's no more talking shop.
I mean, no more talking shop.
Well, we're not here to talk shop.
We're not here to talk shop.
Name that shit. It deserves it.
I'm sorry, y'all. I do have to go. But thank you so much for having all of us on and letting us talk about this.
It was a pleasure.
It's cathartic and something that I feel greatly needs to be out there because Dualshockers was a great place filled with talented people. There's still some great names there, but a lot of great names have left, and they're looking for new homes. And to give just a few of them, a platform is just a great act of charity, put that way. So thank you guys so much.
Well,
Thank you all. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming on and sharing. Really
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Absolutely. Do you still plug things?
Oh,
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Again, my name's Otto Kratky. You can find me on Twitter at my name, Otto_Kratky. I stream on Twitch at Otto Krat. And that's about all. You can find my work going forward at PC Invasion or Sprites and Dice. So whenever you have the time, check out both those sites. And yeah, again, thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely.
Y'all have a wonderful rest of the show. Wish it could stick around for the remainder.
Doing some D&D, Otto?
Not D&D. Take care of things with my family.
Oh.
Don't say it like
Understandable.
that.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Take care, dude.
Y'all have a
Take
good
care.
one.
See you, Otto.
See ya.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
And then there were 6.
Now, I have to ask you guys, Alec, Austin, and
Mhm.
Jordan, do you want the Dualshockers experience? Do you want to take time right now to announce that you're no longer at Dualshockers? because that was kind of a meme for a while where people would just tweet out, "I just want to announce I'm no longer working at Dualshockers."
Oh,
So,
jeez.
do you want
I
this
never
platform
was,
to
but
announce
let's
you
do
are
it.
no longer working at Dualshockers?
You know, it's funny, but it's not. But it's funny that you
Right.
say that because when we started, we had a member by the name of Matt, and Matt has a personal YouTube channel that just took off, and it was just too much for him to work with us and grow his own channel because his channel
And
just
he has
took
a
off. I think
family with 2 kids.
absolutely, and
Yeah.
he went from like what 100 subscribers to like 500 in like a couple weeks or something like that,
Something
and
crazy, yeah.
yeah, so and we had all these gags we were working up. We were gonna pull some jokes on him, and then he just left, and we're like, "Oh, you son of a."
Yeah.
So if this would have happened at a different time, but yeah, we'll pass on the meme. I think we're gonna pass.
Aw.
I'm gonna pass. Jordan,
Yeah.
you're the viral guy, so maybe you're gonna take this one.
When you say it like that, you make it sound like I have to clap.
Oh
I mean,
God.
Yes.
if you do, we're not judging you. I mean, you can live a happy and healthy life still, from what the commercials tell me.
From what my doctor told me. But yes, I would like to say that I'm no longer a part of Dualshockers after the 10 seconds that I was working there. It was quite a ride. And I also just want to say, rest in peace, Matt. Like, I still hear your voice sometimes.
Poor Matt. We love you, Matt.
Poor Matt.
Good times.
mean,
Let's
good
say,
times.
anybody else got anything they want to share before we take off? Or?
I guess there's one thing, one last thing that I think needs to be said about everything. More people really should play The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky and
Oh
Trails
my
of
God.
Cold Steel game.
Stop.
I think they're a really underrated and fantastic RPG series, and the payoff is stupendous at the end.
He's right.
And Estelle and Olivier are the best. So you should play that.
Oh,
play those
Olivier
games.
is the best.
Olivier is the best.
So good.
So good.
Okay, anyway. Sorry. We got Legend of Hero nerds in here, and they converted me earlier this year, and
Game of
all
the Year
the, everything that they're saying
One
is
at a
true.
time.
Everything they're saying is
One
true.
at a time.
Anyway, but no, I just want to say thank you guys for inviting us on this to speak on this, giving us a platform. That's really really nice and kind of you guys. And again, best of luck to everyone at Dualshockers, whether they stayed or they decided to find different ventures. It's I don't know. It feels like the end of an era, and it's only been like I've only been on the at the site since April of 2019, but it feels like the end of an era, man. It feels like the end of an era. So, it's you know, it's you know, it's a sad feeling, but again, like for those that are going to that are sticking around and trying to make the site work for them in their best interests, like again, best of luck to them. And I best of luck for like us who are trying to hopefully go somewhere that is bigger, better, notable, like grow our careers and
Less
um,
corpo.
less corpo, and just
Keep it alive.
keep keep the grind going because that's what the video game industry is. It's just one big old grind.
That's why we got a
I
show
will-
called The Grind.
We do have a show called The Grind. Plug. I just want to say, speaking personally, this was the most nervous I've been going into a podcast because I just
Same.
really wanted to do right by you guys.
Mhm.
That was the main concern. So like, if we just posted this as like anyone could take this, honestly, I don't care. I just want this out there. Like, it doesn't have to be Waypoint Podcast that takes this. This just needs to be said.
No, absolutely, yeah.
Well, we're very glad you did and took the chance on it because, yeah, this feels like it should be industry news, but maybe we were too low key.
I mean, yeah.
Hopefully soon.
I think things are just being put together in the shadows.
Just
Yeah.
getting
And
all the
want to make
information
sure
together.
It's been a
everything's
trickle.
Especially
Everything's-
because it seems like
people-
every day there's more people leaving.
Yeah. I think we're at more people have left than stayed at this point. Ugh,
I think we were at that
Yeah.
point last week.
probably.
But no, just like Kris, Cam, and Otto have all said, thank you guys so much for letting us kind of get some things off the chest, a little cathartic experience moment for all of us who it's been an interesting February, to say the least. But also a big shout out to every single person who's reached out to us and just shared kind words with all of us
Absolutely.
online. Just every like, every retweet, every kind message means the world. I'm assuming to you guys too, but for me, it means the world to me. Um, it it yeah, it just means a whole lot, and I appreciate your guys' kind words and everything, and the offers to come in and talk to you guys, and the offers to, hey, we think this might be a good, or we might have some space for pitches, or just reaching out to old DualShocker people as a whole. It's been really, it means a lot, and thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
You're very welcome, and I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say you guys are welcome on any time on any podcast to talk about actual more fun
Any
things
podcast that ever exists,
that
you
we
can
do.
go on it.
Yeah.
You heard it
Can
here.
I get that on a card, like a Willy Wonka golden ticket? I'm sorry, but Waypoint says I could be on any podcast.
To show up on one that's like completely irrelevant, like the New York Times like daily thing.
I want to go on Joe Rogan's podcast. Be like, the fuck, dude.
Thing, just be like, so we need to talk about a lot of things, dog. Do you not know how COVID works?
No, I'm gonna be like,
Because-
dude, we have a lot of topics to cover, but first and foremost, so there's this game series, Legend of Heroes. Trails in the Sky.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
Tie Joe Rogan down and just give him your pitch for this game for like 2
That
hours.
2 hours.
Cam, that would be more painful to him than talking his ear off about why he's wrong with COVID and a lot of things. Like,
Listen,
just
Scott.
bombarding him with nerdy RPG stuff for 2 hours would be glorious.
I'd watch every second.
Scratching
You
the
would do it for Kingdom Hearts.
Listen, not with Joe Rogan. Why would I do that?
Just to torture him.
But
Torture.
once I catch up on in Legend of Heroes, me, you, and Chris, we can sit down RPGU and you episode. We'll just go across the entire series and just talk about everything. Okay, I promise.
Cam, I like your style. Not
It's
only
great.
did you plug Legend of Heroes, but also my podcast.
Exactly. You gotta
Plug
do what
away.
you gotta do.
Speaking on
I-
plugs,
I'm hoping that like regardless of like the notability of Waypoint, like I think like once we retweet this, a bunch of people at DualShockers retweet this, a lot of people in the industry I think are going to listen to this podcast. I would like to think so.
I hope so.
You know.
Yeah.
So
I like to think so as well.
That wasn't our
it would be
intention. We
basically
just
like
wanted
the
to help you
first-
guys
this-
out.
You know, we're assuming, you know, unless what Otto was speaking about does get published or whatever before this coming Saturday, it it'll be the first
Mhm.
like news where people will speak out about it, you know, like in a more in-depth conversation. So let's hope.
Let's hope.
Help us help you.
Just be sure to include your Xbox gamer score in your tweet, Cam. That'll
Oh
help.
my
things.
god. That's a whole nother story that we'll talk to you.
I know, it's a funny one.
After we're done recording.
It can't be worse than mine. Mine's a
I
zero
just-
because I've never owned an Xbox.
I
Well,
just love
that's
the
your loss.
levity. I just love the levity he keeps bringing. Keep it up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You need levity in times like these.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, again, thank you all. I think we can wrap things up now. I'm not the host, but like I feel like we're kind of like
No, we definitely are.
we're going in a
Getting there.
circle right
Exactly.
now.
No, you hang up first.
Exactly.
Stop it.
But yeah, I'll just start plugging my stuff now.
Go
My
ahead.
name's Cameron Hawkins. I am a writer and a host. I am a current host for IGN Unlocked, which is IGN's Xbox podcast, the #1 Xbox podcast in the world. New episodes come out on Wednesdays, and I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/CamFinalMix, and you can follow me on Twitter at CamFinalMix, and you can give me jobs to do for money, freelance.
Do it.
There's a joke somewhere in there about doing things for money. Jobs for
I was
money.
gonna be like, well, it's
Somewhere.
like my driveway still needs to be shoveled.
I mean, if you want to fly me out there, I'll do it. But
That's
Have you
an
ever seen
expensive
snow?
flight.
yeah, I've seen snow, but not here.
Just wonder. I don't know where you've been.
All right.
I guess I'll go next with the plugs. my name is Scott White. You can find me on Twitter at SolidSnake120. You can also see me doing stuff over at irrationalpassions.com. And I host RPG University, the RPG focused podcast where I have a bunch of awesome guests on to nerd out about RPGs we love. Right now, the latest episode was on East Lacrimosa of Dana, and we have a giveaway going on right now where you can win a copy of East 9, Monstrum Nox for PS4. So be sure to listen to the episode and figure out how. The new episode coming out will be on Final Fantasy VII Remake with Cloudy McDoom from Twitter and TikTok and everything. That was a lot of fun and a lot of good stuff coming up. So yeah, and I'm also looking for freelance like entertainment things because I write, I do graphic design, motion graphics, video editing, motion graphics, illustration, and I write things. So I can do pretty much anything. Game journalism and creative like related. So
Awesome.
Well, to
Kris?
round it out, my name is Kris Cornelisse. You can find me on Twitter at Delfeir, Delfeir. I don't have much social media presence, but I probably should get on that just because, don't really have much going on at the moment. I was primarily with Dualshockers. Right now, I am in between everything, looking, starting own little independent website, looking for other places, seeing where I go from there. I'm more of a, again, review editorial guy. I write many words about lots of things and dive into the deep dive critical stuff wherever possible. And you can usually find me clawing at Scott's door to let me onto RPGU one of these days.
we'll get you.
One day.
Next couple of weeks, we'll figure out a time to bring you on. Talk
Be
some
right.
nerds.
I'm talking shit, but it would be a pleasure.
Well, thank you all again for coming on, sharing all your stories. And thank you all for watching and listening. Go follow all these guys. Go give them any work you guys need. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Love.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.